Yes, we are up and recording. Greetings, everybody. This is Wesley Pepper. This is the Lexcia podcast. And this is episode 161. And if you're based in the Southern Hemisphere, we're entering spring, favorite time of the year. Although it seems like spring is taking its time this year, but that's all good. It's just my favorite time of the year. Always smells lovely and the weather's always really good. To all my new returning listeners, welcome to everybody. Much love, I appreciate it. I see there's a few more subscriptions and so forth. And welcome to everybody, man. I appreciate everything. And as you know, today we're talking to Chris Martin, who's actually got a popular name. I know there's a famous musician with that same name. We're talking about the Glenshiel Fair 2024. And geez, bro, it's like almost Christmas time. So yeah, we'll start seeing the tinsel and the Christmas decorations in all the stores probably in about 2 weeks' time. So let's jump into it, man. My brother Chris, first of all, good morning and welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Wesley, and good morning to you. And thanks for having me here. It's a great, appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for coming through. Like I said, it's we're moving into that Christmas period. So I know a lot of people are, especially in the arts community, a lot of Christmas shows and stuff like that. People are prepping, and I know that those things pick up, especially towards the end of this month. You guys start on the 16th, which is not next weekend. No, I think it's in the week after that. So just tell us a little bit about what the Glenshiel Fair is about, and we'll take it from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Christmas. The fair actually used to be called the Glenshiel Christmas Fair because it's in this sort of accelerated rundown to the end of the year where suddenly people are panicking and thinking, what am I going to get for the various gifts? And so that was actually the origin of the fair. It was a Christmas fair, very Christmas oriented. But what we found, given that the fair sort of normally runs around mid to late October, to try and capture all the jacarandas in full bloom and get the
Yeah.
aesthetics right in the nice weather in Joburg. It was better for us to sort of lean away from Christmas and make it a more general thing. It also means that we can have a greater variety of vendors to make sure that we're, giving our visitors the best experience when they come to the fair, which we're trying to really build as one of the marquee fairs of Johannesburg.
Mm. Yeah. You mentioned there about the jacarandas. I know Westcliff is in a very lovely part of Joburg. I know that's probably one of the biggest. I guess it's one of the most pleasing things, and it's also very beautiful. So it smells very nice, especially if there's late afternoon rain. So tell me, how do you guys incorporate all of that into the fair, man? How do you guys use all of that? And tell us a little bit about the fair itself. I know you've got vendors from I see from the UK and from Zim, and there's a bunch of stuff for sale. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no problem. So I think it's important to look at the origins of the fair.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's start.
as you, yeah, as you say, it's interesting. We've been running now for about 15 years, and it started as a very much smaller event, a couple of stalls within the actual house of Glenshiel. And Glenshiel as a venue has always held a special place in Johannesburg hearts. It's a Herbert Baker home. It's steeped in history, and obviously being right at the top of Westcliff, just opposite the Ridge School. It's got these unbelievable views over the north of Johannesburg, right out to the Magaliesberg. It's a clear day. So the venue itself is a real landmark in Johannesburg. And so the fair, as it's grown over the years, has become a key event towards the end of the year in Johannesburg, where people come and experience this amazing venue with the jacarandas, the beautiful gardens, sprawling gardens. And it's now in this iteration, it's grown to one of our biggest, if not our biggest fair yet, with 85 vendors ranging from high fashion, summer dresses, a lot of different shoes, belts, accessories, to home accessories, to meals, so gifting eats, etc., like fancy Christmas cakes, plants, you name it. It covers a wide range. And what we're trying to do, because we've traditionally had quite a female-oriented audience, we're trying to sort of make it a bit more diverse now. So we're catering to some male audience as well. And we're also catering to a more diverse audience in terms of having appealing to a wider group of people.
Interesting. Just explain to that. How are you guys catering towards a male audience? Is it the products you're selling? Is it the vendors? How does that
Yeah,
work?
I think that's exactly it. So slowly but surely, we're trying to bring in male clothes, so specific male shirts, some nice belts, some nice shoes, etc. So starting to slowly but surely integrate more male-oriented offerings, so that it can be pleasing. Because typically, what would happen is that it would be you would have a traditionally female dominant audience at the fair. So while the husbands do come and they'll go down and enjoy a drink in the on the
Yeah.
lawns and the coffee and that sort of thing, maybe look after the kids while mom wants to do a proper shop. We really try to appeal to a wider audience now, and I think we're getting there.
Interesting. Here's another point that comes up. So you guys, it's I like you say, you're trying to cater for more people. So is the family? Are you trying to cater or trying to take care of the entire family unit? So there's a lot of active
Absolutely.
kids. So what do the kids get up to, man? Or what is offering?
So yeah, it's a good point. Apart from getting lost in the garden and having to keep a sharp eye on them because it's about 7 acres out there. No, we do make it family friendly. Unfortunately, we don't allow dogs, but that's because it is family friendly and we've got a lot of children there, and so dogs are generally, if people do come with dogs, we station them right by the gate, make sure they get a bowl of water, etc. But unfortunately, they
Okay.
can't come into the property. But yeah, no, it is family friendly. We will set up specific areas where kids will be taken care of, like with I think it's called Clamberland, where they would have a designated area where the kids will be looked after. But also, it's just as I say, the stores are spread all over the thing on multi layers within the house as well. So it really does cater to everybody, mom, dad, and the children.
Interesting. Yeah, man, tell us a little bit about the house itself. And as you say, it's stood in history. So tell us a little bit about the history of the house and why specifically this venue, besides the garden and the trees and so forth.
No problem. Yeah, so Glenshiel itself has got a really interesting history. It was built in the early 1900s by and designed by Sir Herbert Baker. And those who know their heritage homes in Johannesburg, Herbert Baker did a number of them. And in fact, there's a Herbert Baker loop in that Parktown area, Westcliff
Okay.
Parktown area. So Glenshiel, Northwoods, there were other homes there that were all designed by him. Um, and he was a famous English architect that had a very specific style. So if one looks at the house, it's actually built, if you look at it from an aerial view, in the shape of a butterfly. So a
Oh,
butterfly
okay.
wing, like an egg. And those are the various wings of the building. Um, it was initially commissioned to Lord and Lady Dalrymple. They had come out from England, and they took ownership of the house. And in fact, the grounds were quite a bit bigger at that stage. So they sort of encompassed where Westcliff is now, those 7 acres, but also spread out to where the Hope School is below us, probably reaching onto the Westcliff Hotel property at the top there as well. So it was a much bigger property in those days, and they stabled lots of horses, and so it really was quite sprawling and quite spectacular. Lord Dalrymple had aviaries all over the property, exotic birds. There were peacocks, kind of like Brenthurst now, sort of roaming freely across the property, etc. Then where the history gets quite interesting is that it was taken over by Gordon Haggie and from Haggie Rand, which was a family that was highly involved with the mining, with the mines. They did ropes and cabling in the mines, so that's how they built their fortune. But Gordon Haggie was a member of the Order of St. John, and this is where the Order of St. John link comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to get to that.
Around around that time, which the Second World War was in full swing, and so the Haggie family converted Glenshiel and the property to an auxiliary hospital towards the end of the Second World War. So it became a place where military soldiers came back from the war, needed to be cared for medically and rehabilitated. And so we still fly a number of flags on the main lawns. There's the St. John
Okay.
flag. There's the Union Jack, given our links to the royal family, as well as the South African flag. And of course, as you can imagine, in those times, we had a whole lot of guys lining up every morning in military fashion, doing almost a kind of a parade kind of thing, each and every morning. But it was interesting because at that point, after the war ended, the Haggie family very kindly bequeathed the use of Glenshiel to the Order of St. John. So now it's not our property, but we have use of the house and the gardens as our headquarters at what we call the Priory of South Africa. And we're in 40 countries around the world, but Glenshiel represents the South African iteration of the Priory for St. John of South Africa. So it's our headquarters.
Yeah, that is interesting. Especially the part of design like a butterfly. That's really interesting. So tell me, man, you guys got a preview before the event starts. Tell us about that. Or what exactly, what exactly do you showcase, and what's on offer?
Yeah, so the preview evening effectively is opening night, you want to call it that. And it's an opportunity for uh, those who want to get a first look at the specials and and specific goods around the market. So the full market will be open that evening. It's also a lovely time to experience Glenshiel. So Glenshiel is spectacular during the day, but the best time of day is probably 6, 7 o'clock, just after the sun sets.
Yeah, early.
You've got the building lit, you've got the whole garden lit, and you've got these spectacular views over Johannesburg. So it comes into its own. We have a cocktail function. We have beautiful canapes that are being served, live music being played. So it's a very festive event, and it's an opportunity for people to uh, see and be seen. So we have the sort of upper crust of Johannesburg joining us. We've got a number of celebrities that come and join us for that evening. So it's a great time. And so we've got a limited number of tickets. So I highly encourage people to please go onto Quicket and take a look. Those tickets are going to be selling out fast. We've got a set number that we can cater for that evening, only 400. But it's a fantastic evening. It's quite sort of formal as well in terms of people coming in lovely long black dresses and fancy suits, etc. So it almost takes one back in time to the sort of glamorous times of old Johannesburg, and you get a snapshot of that. But it's also a fantastic opportunity for people to understand why we hold the fair. And of course, the reason we hold the fair is that every bit of the proceeds go to the good work of the Order of St. John. So
Yeah.
it's and so while people come and have a fabulous time, it's also about ultimately doing good. And so for me, it's the double win in that regard.
Yeah. Before we get to the Order of St. John's, just another thing I noticed that was quite interesting. You say it's a cashless event, so there's no cash on the premises. What's the reason for that or behind that?
So it's interesting. I mean, we've tried to run cashless before, and every year we've run into a little bit of a challenge where people want to use cash. But there's a couple of reasons. We have gone to a lot of trouble to boost Wi-Fi signal around the property to make sure that there's no issues in terms of being able to tap one's card or insert a card or pay via SnapScan or Zapper. So you've got numerous ways to pay electronically. The main reason we don't want to have cash is, as you can imagine, there's a security thing. If one's carrying a lot of cash there, we don't want to have heavily armed guards or armored trucks moving lots of cash and that sort of thing. It would spoil the ambiance. But also, I think for us, it's just easier for the vendors. It's easier for the people who are running the tickets at the gate. And hopefully it's going to be easier for our visitors as well, because as I say, it's not just card, it's Zapper, it's SnapScan. So there's various ways that we can cater the gym, and people don't have to worry about having cash on hand.
Interesting. Just a point on that. I was actually reading up. I'm actually quite interested in how everything is sort of moving into a cashless, I guess, a cashless society. But there's also a lot of pushback. I'm an artist, and there's also a lot of pushback from arts as well. But anyway, that's a financial thingy. That's for another episode. But I
Well,
found that super.
but
Yeah.
no, but I'm glad you raised it. I mean, I don't doubt there may be a bit of pushback, and we're going to have to work through it as a kind of a teething issue. But if Kenya can get it right with M-Pesa, I'm sure we can get it right in Westcliff and Johannesburg.
No, it's interesting. And like you say, the security thing, I get that. And as the way of the world, everything is being digitized now. So it makes sense to sort of keep ahead of all of those trends. But as you said, man, the main reason for this is the NPO, and like we spoke briefly offline. the thing that really grabbed me was that you guys are focusing on eye care. But before we get to that, just explain to us what is, they say, the Order of St. John's NPO about, how does it operate, and then we'll just unpack it bit by bit.
No, no problem. So we've got almost 1,000-year history, so I'm going to have to give you the very shortened
Okay.
version
Yeah,
of
yeah,
how we
yeah.
got here.
Good.
But I think just to bring people into the picture, St. John, or St. John Ambulance, as most people know of us, is where
Mhm.
people would have a resonance with the eight-pointed star. And
Yeah.
so St. John Ambulance will, in fact, yeah, this is the logo here. So I hope it's coming
Ah,
through clearly. That's the
yeah,
eight-pointed
yeah, yeah,
star.
yeah.
Um, and so certainly in a South African context, we would have been remembered for having our little ambulances and first aiders next to the sports field, whether it be a rugby game or a soccer game. And we
Yeah.
still do that. It's not our core focus. So the history of St. John is an interesting one. We started in Jerusalem almost 1,000 years ago, around the time of the First Crusades. Now, a lot of people
Sure.
get confused. They see St. John black cloaks and they assume it's Masonic, or they assume it's Knights or Knights Templar.
Yeah,
But
that's got that vibe to it. But I got
But
to go on.
unfortunately for the conspiracy theorists, that's not us. We were actually an order of monks, so or
Okay.
hospitallers. And
Okay.
so we started in what was called the Muristan almost 1,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and that Muristan still stands today, which is quite extraordinary. Um, and so it was started by the Blessed Gerard, and at that time, if we think of the concept of modern day healthcare, which is having a certain amount of space between beds, the
Mm.
importance of sanitation of hands before touching a patient, a lot of those principles started with the formation of the Order of St. John. This concept of formalized healthcare, this concept of understanding that if people are getting chopped to bits in the First Crusades, how do we help them? And what's also interesting about St. John, although it has Christian and Anglican roots in Jerusalem, um, it's an amazing organization in that throughout the years it's been always open to every faith and people of
Sure.
no faith at all.
Sure.
So, I mean, in a modern context, St. John runs an eye hospital in Jerusalem, seeing a multitude of patients. We run clinics in
Uh,
Gaza,
oh,
and these
okay.
clinics in Gaza, believe it or not, are staffed by Palestinian and Israeli doctors working together to help patients. So
Okay.
for me, it's an extraordinary organization because it somehow rises above seemingly unresolvable conflicts because it's about doing something bigger,
Yeah.
doing something better, serving,
Yeah.
and what we call serving our lords and the sick and the poor. So throughout our 1,000-year
Yeah.
history, regardless of the iterations, it's always been about service. It's always
Mm.
been about caring for those who have less, who need care. So I think there's something very, I'm biased, I'm part of the organization, but I think there's something very noble about that, always caring for the lesser.
Mm.
Um, so in South Africa, let's talk about eye care.
Yeah.
In 1952, we opened the St. John Baragwanath Eye Hospital, which still stands today. It's on part of the Chris Hani Baragwanath hospital complex, and it is the largest public eye hospital in the Southern Hemisphere. So that seeing up to 300 or 400 patients a day. They do extraordinary work. And all our ophthalmologists that are specializing come through that hospital and do rotations through that hospital. Every single specialist ophthalmologist in South
Yeah.
Africa. So it's an amazing institution.
Mm.
We opened that in 52, and in 73 we handed it back to the Department of Health because at that point it became too big for us as a nonprofit organization, charitable organization to run at that stage. It needed more capacity. So
Yeah.
it still runs today, although unfortunately it's only ours in name, but it still bears our logo. And what we do have right next door is the Chris Hani Baragwanath Eye Clinic, the St. John Eye Clinic, which refers to that hospital, and we do optometric care. And Wesley, I see
Okay.
you wear glasses, so you'll
Yeah.
understand the importance of optometric care. And
Yeah.
so a little known fact about St. John, we're one of the largest optometrists in South Africa. We have 12 clinics around the country. We operate in 6 of the 9 provinces where we provide optometric care. So that's screening, full comprehensive eye testing, and dispensing of glasses to those in need. we don't do it for free. We can't do it for free because we've got to pay our optometrists. We've got to keep the lights on. But what we do is we offer high quality, affordable eye care. So it's not what the prices that you're going to be paying at Specsavers and Torga, but you're going to be getting certainly the same quality lenses. Sure, you might not be getting a Prada or a Gucci frame, but certainly you're going to be getting a high quality pair of glasses that's going to last you for years. My glasses are from St. John's, so I use our product and we perform really, really important work through those clinics. And then another important portion is that's the operational side, but we do a lot of community health projects with our eye care. So we would go into a
Tell us
region.
about that.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll give you an example of a project we've just done now. We've worked with the Woza bead workers. So here in KZN, where I'm based, we have in the Valley of 1,000 Hills, we've got a bunch of gogos that are doing amazing beadwork, and they've got an actual showroom in Hillcrest where they present and sell their beadwork. But as you can imagine, a lot of these rural people don't have the opportunity to get to a public hospital to get their eyes tested.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, the great tragedy in our current public health system is that 80% of people can't get to an optometrist.
Yeah.
Through our public health system. It has to be a private, and there's barriers to entry in terms of cost. So what we do was a Moya project. We worked with 160 of their bead workers, often elderly women, where we would screen them, test them, and provide glasses. So together with Woza and the Hillcrest Aid Center, we gathered about 100,000, just over 100,000 rands worth of funding that we were able to screen, test, and provide glasses to these women. And critically, it's not just providing that amazing gift of sight, but allows them to remain economically active, because often this might be the only breadwinner in a family. So the knock-on effects of a project like that are substantial and life-changing. So that was an example of a great project that we've been involved in. But we also do work with we do great work with Sasol in the Sasolburg area, where for the last 3 years, we've been doing interventions with them. It started with focusing on the indigent elderly population in the greater Sasolburg area. And now we've upscaled working with the local Department of Health there as well, where we're targeting a variety of schools in that Sasolburg area and the greater Sebokeng area, where we can get to those school children. And it's so important because you can imagine there's a direct link between eyesight and education. And so often school kids are left behind or lost in the system just because there wasn't a realization that the poor kid couldn't see the blackboard. And if you can't see the blackboard, you're not going to be able to learn. So I can't stress enough the importance of early intervention eye care. So a lot of our work, well, I mean, as I say, you wear glasses and you would know the difference of being able to read or not read.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Fundamental, right? So eye care is an important element of the work that we do. And then the other sort of string to our bow is St. John, is that we do a lot of work in the occupational health and training space. So St. John, in fact, if you look at first aid legislation, it's St. John and Red Cross that are legislated as part of government legislation around first aid. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I mean, it's nice. We kind of wrote the book, and it's because we've been doing it for so long over so many territories.
Makes sense.
So first aid is critically important, and it links to the work that we do in the ambulance and medical event space, because it talks around first response. And we consider it an essential life skill, because whether we say at home, work, or play. So if you're in the office or you're on the sports field or you're in the home and something happens, if you've been trained in first aid, that can literally be the difference between life and death.
Yeah.
Even if it's just about putting the person in a recovery position before the ambulance and the paramedics arrive, that first hour is critical and can ultimately be the difference. So we're passionate about first aid. We're passionate about training first aid to as many people as possible. And like eye care, we've got an operational side where we would charge companies to do it, because we've got to pay our staff and pay our instructors. But I think importantly, much like the fair, any kind of revenue that we generate as an organization ultimately goes back and is
Sure.
reinvested into scaling the good work that we do
Sure.
in terms of community development work. So I hope that just gives you a sense of the kind of work that we do at St. John.
Does. It does. It was super interesting. I didn't know it stretches so far back. It's not often that you hear people say we go back 1,000 years. In fact, it's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's quite epic. And you're correct. Like, and I just want to add on, like, my eyes are poor. I can't see anything without glasses. And it is a problem, and it is expensive. And it's not for everybody. And yeah, if you're in a township somewhere or somewhere, you're not always thinking about your eye care. There's other problems that you might think is bigger. So I completely understand that. So that's quite interesting, and thanks for sharing that, man. So like you say, you guys are sort of a lot of the profits of this fair goes towards the NPO. Tell us a little bit about the ticket sales. Like you say, you guys got 400 tickets left. So where can any listeners who's listening to this buy tickets?
Yep.
Um, yeah, and for the event, just explain to us the logistics around that.
No problem. So no, so yeah, we got 400 for the preview evening, but a lot more available for the rest of the day. So the fair itself runs from the 16th to the 20th. So that's the Wednesday night, which is the opening night. And then the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We finish about midday on Sunday. So a lot of other tickets available. Anyone, if one could just go to Quicket and look, or via the Glenshiel site, or on Quicket and look for the Glenshiel Fair, you'll be directed straight there. And you've got a variety of tickets that you could buy. So you could buy a preview evening ticket, you could buy a preview evening and a day ticket, a 2-day ticket, a single entrance ticket. So we've
Okay.
tried to provide options in terms of what they would be. The tickets start at 150 Rand for a single day ticket, and then it would go up depending on the nature of the or range of ticket that you wanted to
Yeah.
buy. Um, and and yes, I think important to note that, as you were saying, importantly, every bit of revenue that we get, apart from covering our costs of putting
Yeah,
on
of
an
course.
extravaganza
Of
like this,
course.
but every bit of surplus that we get goes towards the work of St. John. And it's a phenomenal event because we engage with many volunteers within the Westcliff community and more broadly that come in and spend literally hundreds of hours in the year helping us put on this event. So it's a wonderful initiative, and it's certainly something we can't do by ourselves. There are so many stakeholders that we work with very closely, too many to name now, that make this a possibility. And it's only with working with the greater Westcliff community that we could do this, because it becomes quite disruptive. These poor guys that live around us, we make it a one-way road because it gets so busy with all the cars. We have to get Jock involved. It becomes quite disruptive, but they've always been huge supporters of us because it's an event that sort of uh, hopefully boosts the community. And certainly we've enjoyed a really close working relationship with the Westcliff community residents that are affected. They come. Many of the residents help sell raffle tickets as part of their overall fair. So it's a really wonderful occasion. And if I can just quickly say, we've got a
Please.
fabulous raffle prize this year. So if one comes to the fair, and the tickets are only available if you come to the fair.
Yeah.
So the raffle prize is a weekend stay for two at the Oyster Box here in Durban.
Okay.
A fantastic prize. It's a 5-star hotel. If those who are not aware of it, lovely sea facing view, all the best. So would really recommend people to come through and buy some raffle
Fantastic.
tickets, because it's a great prize, but more importantly, every cent goes to the fantastic cause, being the work of St. John.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I think putting it into perspective, it makes, yeah, perspective counts. Yeah, that makes, and as I said, like earlier, I've never heard of someone who specifically just focuses on eye care. It's funny, once you talk about eyes, all of a sudden my eyes are itching and I'm also a bit blurry. I don't know, the mind is just weird like that. But thanks, Chris, man. So you say you can get all the information on your website, and for my listeners, I'll add all that information in the description below. And
Thank
you
you.
guys say this is how many years now? 14 years, did you say?
15 years, 15 years. And
Substantial.
and it's interesting because with each year, you have to keep evolving it. You have to keep adapting. You have
Yeah,
to keep changing
yeah,
this
yeah,
concept of adapt or die. So
yeah,
what we also try and do is we try to change up our vendors every year to have new products coming through. Obviously, we have some old faithfuls that do come through because they would pull a particular crowd
yeah,
that and loyal customers. But important to have fresh and new products coming in all the time. And so we really do try to change it up. This year, the layout of the fair is going to change quite substantially from last year and what people are used to over the last few years. So we're excited to see how that's going to work. We're going to change up the way we serve the food, the way we allow people to sort of have a more kind of relaxed picnic environment on one of
yeah,
our sprawling lawns. So I
yeah.
think it'll be really, really great. I would encourage our regular visitors to please come through because it's going to be a new experience this year and one that you want to experience.
No, for sure. Thanks, man. And like I said in the beginning, it's spring, or at least it's well towards end of October, it's more early summer, but still, so the weather's perfect for kind of an early evening, especially after some late afternoon thunder showers. It just makes everything fresh and just lightens up. I love that to be honest. So yeah, man,
Uh,
thanks a lot, Chris. You want any closing comments on your side?
Wesley, just to say, I really appreciate the opportunity and hope to see everyone that's sort of interested in attending a fabulous event with amazing food, with great products, with a great energy. Glenshiel Fair is the place to come to. As I say, just to repeat those dates, 16 October to
Yeah.
20 October. So coming up in the next 2 weeks, and tickets available on Quicket. So please don't wait too long. But of the tickets will also be available at the gate on the day. So we encourage, if you haven't
Okay,
gone
I was.
online, no problem. You can come to the gate. We'll have a Quicket team there that can process, and we don't have any limits on the numbers that come in. So one and all, please do come through and come visit us over those
Like you
days.
say, you can bring the whole family as well, right?
Just not the dog, please.
Okay, yeah, no, leave the dog at home. No, fantastic, my brother, man. Thanks, man. I will publish this episode. Actually, I'll do it over the weekend. I'll probably publish it on Saturday, Sunday, and I'll notify you on that. And yeah, like just to repeat to my listeners, I'll add all the detail, the we could get your tickets and so forth in the description below. Yeah, and it's that time of the year. The year is winding down, so I'm sure yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite times of the year. So once again, Chris, thanks a lot for coming through, my brother. All the best with the event in about 2 weeks' time, and I'll let you know when we publish this episode.
You're a star, Wesley. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, huh?
Thanks, my brother, man. Take care, man. Enjoy your day, right?
You too.
Cheers, man. Bye bye.